more content like this, be sure to subscribe to Mason Studios on YouTube.
That's what I'm talking about. So those that don't know me, my name is Josh Mason. I'm a lifelong Legend of Zelda fan, like as big a Legend of Zelda fan as you can get. I'm also a filmmaker from the West Tennessee area, and I'm such a Legend of Zelda fan that way back in 2019, I wrote, produced, and directed my own Legend of Zelda fan film because I was sick and tired of waiting on Hollywood to make one. And finally, thank goodness, they are making one next year. It comes out. I'm so excited. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Today, we're going to be joined by a true legend and somebody who, to me, is real-life royalty. She's been a voice in many, many video games, but of course, most prominent, probably most of you and me, she is the voice of Princess Zelda in the Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and the Hyrule Warriors series. So please join me in welcoming Patricia Summersett! Woo! Keep it going, keep it going! Yeah! Woo! The Princess Zelda herself. How's it going? That's your mic right there. How are we doing today? We're enjoying Southeast gaming shows so far, Patricia?
Testing, 1, 2, there we go.
It works, yay!
That's retesting before I did.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, yes, Greenville is excellent. I've had a little chance now to see the downtown and how beautiful it is. And I did the drooling warthog. There's that statue. What is that for? What is that?
I'm not sure. You know, I haven't been able to get downtown very much myself. I've been kind of sticking around this area.
Fair enough.
Been tied up with all the Southeast Game Exchange craziness going on. Where are you from originally, Patricia?
I am originally from Upper Michigan, and so a Uber.
Yeah! Woo! Somebody knew.
It's a pretty obscure little area that nobody knows about, but it's right on Lake Superior. A lot of white-tailed deer, a lot of trees, a lot of good cultivated bird people up there. My family's still very much out there. And then I spent years in Montreal, Quebec. That's my other place that I've been in a lot. But yeah, I'm a Michigander, really.
There you go. Well, quick breakdown on kind of how this is going to work, guys. I'm going to ask Patricia a series of questions, mostly Zelda related for obvious reasons. But then at some point, I am going to open the floor to your guys' questions. So go ahead and be thinking what questions you may want to ask Patricia. It's not every day you get to ask the real Princess Zelda questions. So be thinking about what those are. And here a little bit, we'll open up the floor. But to get started off, you kind of kick it off with telling us a little bit about how you initially got into acting, and maybe while doing that, you give some advice for anybody else who may be looking to get into the industry.
For sure. I personally got into acting. I did do drama school. I did that whole train. That's not always the case these days with actors, and particularly with voice artists. But yeah, I started in Michigan in a tiny rural place, doing a lot of practice of singing and dancing with my sisters, doing stuff at the local jamborees, things like that. And then I did a lot of figure skating too, which was, we had a rink in our local area. So figure skating was actually, it ended up being a gateway back into acting when I was older, so that was part of my journey. And I always say for actors who are, we're rigging a little bit, but I don't know about that. I always say for actors who are kind of, they're pursuing something and they don't know if it's going to be relevant, I say kind of whatever you're training in that you feel passionate about, it usually finds you back into, it sends you in a direction that's really interesting in acting. It helps roles find you too. So anyway, figure skating was that for me. I find it's been very helpful for motion capture and just being precise. And every time I've done music, it helps me with the voice acting. So all those skills that you sort of pick up along the way become part of your calling card in the end. But yeah, my journey was from Michigan, and then ultimately I moved to French Canada. It was for ice dancing at the time, but it got me back into drama school. And so I did a BFA in drama, and after that I felt like I needed more training. I was doing theater, TV film stuff, found video games right away. Like voice acting was a class that I took in school. I had a teacher who had done some video games, riveted, and I thought, you can actually do voices and get paid for this? This is incredible. And a lot of people were like, yeah, I want to do theater, I want to be on film. And I'm like, I want to do it all, but voice acting for me is definitely going to be part of that journey. So, got my demos done right away, did it very DIY in the beginning, sent out my first auditions, answered all the calls, and eventually sort of worked my way up into voice acting at the same time as I was doing drama school. And then after that, I went to London, did a master's of classical acting. I'd already done some video games by that point, moved back to Canada, ended up becoming a Canadian citizen, so now I'm both. And then I've been just kind of traveling and being a bit of a nomad in my life. I've lived in like Toronto and London and eventually LA, which is where the Zelda thing happened. But being an artist has really guided my life, and you give up a lot to have that kind of life, but it's also such a big adventure, and I love the process. So it's a lifelong process. This has been a really interesting part of it.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I know you've obviously voiced a ton of characters, from Rainbow Six and things like that. So besides Zelda, because I feel like that's the easy answer, do you have any other characters that you've voiced or acted over the years that are like some of your favorites?
Oh man, and it would depend on the genre too, because there's certain theater roles that I've done that are my absolute, Shakespeare roles or Hedda Gabler or things like that really speak to me, that I end up using, in video games as well. But I would say Zelda, it's too easy, but it really has been such an impactful role. It's been a great
That's the right answer.
I just wanted to please you. I'm an actor. Yeah. Assassin's Creed, being in that series, it was Robert Jensen in Assassin's Creed Rogue. That was the first performance capture gig that I ever had. I was so excited. It was such a cool audition process. And to be able to do cinematics in the volume, that was really impactful for me. And I am partial to Ash from Rainbow Six because that's also been a 10-year process. And I got that role back in 2015, and it started as voice. I had to re-audition to do the performance capture. They were thinking about going a different direction because it was going to be like a full body capture. And ultimately, I did multiple auditions again, and then they went and they were like, we're sticking with Patricia. And I was like, oh my gosh, nice. And then it's 10 years later, here we are, actually 11 years later, and still Ash. So I'm like, yay, all the iterations. It's been such a cool community to be part of as well.
As far as getting the role of Zelda, it's such an iconic character. And I hosted Hunter, who plays Fox McCloud, which was this panel yesterday. We talked a little bit about some of these characters are such pop culture icons. And so, walk me through what that was like when you got cast as Zelda. Did you know during the audition process that it was Zelda? And like once you discovered that it was, like what was your initial gut reaction to finding out?
Skydiving? I felt like I was skydiving. Zelda happened for me at a very interesting time because I had just made this decision to move to LA. It was a big move. I was already 10 years into the acting process. I'd been through a lot of ups and downs. And I was like, I think it's time now to move to LA and get more specialized, seek out my stuff. So I brought my packages down there. And Zelda was one of the first things that I auditioned for after submitting my packages to the casting directors. I got invited to do this audition, but of course it's secret. It's a bleached script. You don't know who the characters are. There's no way I could have ever figured out that it was Zelda. I mean, she hadn't had a voice before. So I just did my best with the specs that I was given, and I thought if I could land anything in this game, that would be amazing in any game, in any part. And so I got a call back, and then I eventually got directed around. I'm like, I think they're really considering me for this game somewhere in here. I'm like, this is so exciting. And then I got, word that I got that part. And then I went in and signed the NDAs. And before recording the first trailer, and they're like, congratulations, this is Zelda. And I was like, it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. You don't know in what ways that's going to change your life, and it's going to impact your career. And it does. And honestly, could never have predicted that it was the launch game for the Switch, that it was going to be so wonderfully received with all the Game Awards.
That it was going to be one of the greatest video games ever made.
I mean, it's pretty darn cool. Like the gameplay in that game is extraordinary. I'm just this tiny cherry on this game that thousands of people have worked on. So I'm very lucky to be here. That's just how it goes. Like all the devs, all the other artists, the illustrators, they're incredible to work on that stuff. And so kudos to them, really, when it comes down to it.
No, kudos to the entire team at Nintendo that made the game, but you clearly did an incredible job performing Zelda, walk me through, the one thing I'm curious about, because I was there, I was actually a GameStop manager with my old job, so I was there through all the marketing push for Breath of the Wild when it launched, and the first thing I remember was that final Breath of the Wild trailer that came out. It was an incredible trailer. Like, I remember there was people like on the internet crying when they reacted to that. So what was your reaction like to some of the marketing, like when you finally saw some of the trailers or maybe some of the cutscenes from the game and kind of seeing your performance finally come to life on the screen?
Oh man, it was so weird to be silent about it for a year. It was such a big secret to hold, and I hadn't held a secret quite like that before in my career. I'd done other NDA things, but not that big. And every time a trailer came out, it was a reveal for me too. I was like, okay, that's what's going to happen. I guess it's coming. So I was riveted by the whole thing. Or people would talk to me about loving the series, and they had no idea that I was going to be the next, the Princess Zelda. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Deer in headlights. I felt like it was, the secret was like emanating out of me because I was like, I hope I'm not giving myself away. Not that you could, but you get really paranoid actually.
Oh yeah, no, everything leading up, I remember the hype and the excitement leading up to Breath of the Wild was so intense. And the moment for me that was so emotional was when Zelda in the trailer breaks down crying in Link's arms. It's such an emotional moment, especially for longtime fans of the series, because we hadn't, up to that point, we hadn't really seen that level of emotion and like character development really out of those characters before. And the team did a really good job of developing the story and the characters. I felt like a lot more with Breath of the Wild. I do have to ask you, as somebody, this is probably a silly question, but as somebody who's a lifelong fan of Zelda, and I grew up on the 80s cartoon series, how many times have you had someone come up to you and say, well, excuse me, princess?
Not at this con yet. Usually at every con that I've gone to, I have one or two people that come up and we talk about it and we say, but we don't talk about those. So it's just a constant, it's so sweet.
I'm hoping that line is in the movie that comes out next year.
That would be great.
That would be perfect. They gotta have that line in there. They gotta have it in there. Speaking of that, how excited are you for the live-action Legend of Zelda adaptation? It's coming out next year. I think they moved it up to April now, so it's coming out in soon. It's from Sony Pictures and Nintendo, and I've waited my whole life for this. Like, I'm so excited.
So you filmed a live-action version, like
in 2019 we did. Yeah, and the only reason I made that movie was because I was so tired of Hollywood not making one. I was like, what are we doing? It's the most obvious movie to make. But no, we had a great time making that. It was inspired kind of by all the games, But yeah, that's just how big a fan we are. There's so many fans out there. This series means so much to so many people, the cosplayers, and people in the fan community and everything, people who do fan art and things like that. And just all of that, I think, goes to show the intense love people have for the series. What was your relationship like with the series prior to getting the game? Have you ever played any of the games before?
I had. I grew up with the NES in my house. We were actually more Mario at that time.
Mario's cool too.
Yeah, that's awesome. I spent a lot of time with Charles Martinet. It's strange traveling the world and kind of running into these other characters and being like, hey, where are we now?
Mexico.
Yeah, exactly. We're just in Las Vegas like a few weeks ago. We're like, hey, we're in Las Vegas. Hi, how are you doing? I was very, very aware of the game itself, and my experience with it had been the original. I was very young when that came out. I don't know. I think it was 1986. I was born in 1982, so I was like 4. But by the time my sisters were playing it, I was mostly just watching and then dying a lot very quickly. But yeah, Ocarina of Time as well was something that I played in high school, and I went back and I played Twilight Princess, and I definitely played Breath of the Wild. But before I got the role, I was quite aware of who Zelda was. I wouldn't have been able to predict where it was going, but yes, it's a crazy thing. And I think the movie's going to be amazing. that's.
Oh,
like you,
I
I
can't wait.
imagine it's going to have all sorts of versions and not spoilers, but just the lore of so many things in it because they're all going to be so steeped in this. So I have no idea what it's going to contain. But it's never been a better time to be a Zelda fan. My gosh.
Oh no, it's the best time to be Zelda. I assume you're going to be there at the theater day one, right, to see
We'll
it.
see. We'll see. I make no promises, but yeah.
So another question I have, since you said you did play some of the games, do you have a favorite game in the series? And you can say Breath of the Wild if you want to. That would be fair.
It's hard to compare. For me, like with the impact that Breath of the Wild had on my life outside of the games, so it's number one for me. But other than that, I would have said Ocarina of Time, and I think a lot of people really feel that way. So
Ocarina is normally the one that I say. It's between Ocarina and Breath of the Wild for me. Those are my top two. And depending on the day you ask me, the answer changes. And I think that Ocarina is more through the nostalgia, is why I love it so much. But if we're being realistic and just comparing gameplay to gameplay, Breath of the Wild is clearly the better game, you know. But they're all great. All great. I love Wind Waker, Twilight Princess. I think it's just an incredible series. So
they're all linked in the end.
they're all linked. You see what she did there? See what she did there? Yeah. Okay, I think just have a couple more and then we'll turn over to the audience. This is a big question, and you may not know the answer, but I guess it's more your opinion, because this is highly debated among the fan community, does Link talk? Because a lot of people argue over this and debate online whether or not he actually speaks and all of that.
It's funny because I'm not actually sure I've actually been asked that question like that before. I mean, I don't know. And whether or not he's going to speak in the future is to be debated. Like, you say, I mean, there are words and scripted words, right? Yeah, so
My opinion is yes. I think he does. I mean, you see it in the game where they're like miming gestures, and then the characters have information that Link clearly told them that they wouldn't have known otherwise. So, anyway, yeah, I think he talks. That's my personal opinion. Let's see, and then, yes, just one more. What does the Legend of Zelda series mean to you? As far as like the relationship with fans, what it's meant to you career-wise, just everything about it.
actually, because I've had some time to think about that this year and reflect on the fact that it's the 40th anniversary of Legend of Zelda.
Woohoo, round of applause for 40th anniversary, yeah!
For me, it actually feels like it's humans. And what I mean by that is, for me, what the series has meant for me in my life has transcended the games in the way that it is, that I've traveled the world and met Zelda fans and heard people talking about this series and celebrating it with friends and family and whoever around the world. And it's really interesting to see the patterns of how the universal storytelling, the way that people celebrate these games, the classic storytelling of it, but it always comes back to the people because in the end, you do this to connect. You do this to be present in the real world too, regardless of whether or not it's escapism. You do it to celebrate love and these like human emotions that we care so much about. So I just think it's all about humans. That's what the Legend of Zelda means to me, and that's where it's felt the most meaningful for me in the last 10 years, being part of it directly. And so, or innovation, maybe, you know, if it was going to be more heady, I would say. It represents innovation.
And it's just that, I think it's another reason it resonates with so many people, is just that classic story of just courage overcoming, you know, evil.
Yeah.
And I think it's just something that connects with so many people. And so, yeah, it's a phenomenal series. You do an incredible job with it.
Thanks.
No problem. So guys, it's now your turn to ask questions. So if we can get you guys to line up in the mic right here in the center, you can come on up, don't be shy. You can ask Patricia any questions you got. Yeah, right here in front of this nice man in the blue t-shirt. Yeah, just come on up, tell us your name, and ask us your question. Yeah, guys, y'all have to be y'all have to be right up on the mic for us.
How do you feel about being the main voice of the series since Link was on top? I hope one day we do get here.
So how do you feel about being the main voice of the series since Link doesn't talk?
And did you like feel like you had to carry more
Because he doesn't talk?
have words in here?
It's so funny because when you're in the booth, you're often responding to lines, like when you're doing cinematics or performance capture, there are other people you're acting off of, but in the booth for video games, it's a common practice to be the only one in the booth talking a lot of the times, and somebody maybe feeding you lines, and it really has to happen in your imagination. So, I don't know, I mean, we are very much both like equally important characters in they're sort of a duality of sorts. They counter each other, so one can't exist without the other, I guess, the Legend of Zelda in a way. I mean, look, to be a main character in anything feels awesome. Like that's, to be a prominent character with a character arc in anything is like, it's just the best gift. It's what an actor lives to do most of the time. So I've just been, I pinch myself, but yeah, I don't know.
All right, thank you for your question. If y'all can get right up on that mic for us, close as you can get to it.
Is this good?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
My name is Seth. Nice to meet you, Greg. This is a stray away from what we've been talking about. You mentioned Ash earlier, and that's how I came to know you. Two things in that regard. How did you feel working with Ubisoft and that genre of game? Because it's way different than Zelda, and way different than being a character in a narrative, more so a full story that spanned, you said 11 years.
Yeah.
And would you ever consider playing a character in another game like that, or
Absolutely. I'm happy when I'm working. That's variety's the spice of life. I feel very strongly about working. I have loved working with Ubisoft in a variety of games. Each development team is different. You have people that are working on those games that you meet, and then you get to know them over years when a character evolves for years and you get to stay in the game. I've loved working with Ubisoft. I've met like the nicest, coolest people. So, and actually for Ash, last year they did the 10-year anniversary launch and they did Siege X. And they brought me to Atlanta and I helped host the Siege X event as Ash. I was like, this is so crazy. And it got to the point where, because it's been 10 years, I'm actually older. I've been on the team longer than a lot of the new development people. So I was like, I felt a little bit part of the creative team in a way. I mean, I'm not
a veteran?
Yeah, a veteran of sorts. OG. I'm an OG character, they say. So it's been a gift. Yeah.
Do you read Ash in the game if you play it?
I cannot play it. Rainbow Six is so hard. I watch a lot of the pro players. I've been to several of the events and watched it play out live, and I love watching other people play really, really well. And I just back off.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right, thank you for your question. Next up.
Hi, welcome. So wondering with the accent that you found for Zelda, if that's something you kind of experimented with and found in the recording studio, or if it was direction that was given to you that that's something they were looking for, how did you arrive at that specific accent?
Yeah, from the specs in the audition, I went with something that felt a little more UK-based because it looked like it was royal, and I was like, this makes more sense to do something that's sort of based on an RP. I mean, it's sort of debatable what you would call that accent. It's highly end at this point. It's a fantasy game. That's what it comes from. But yeah, I found that in the audition process. So it was already kind of decided upon, and as was the vocal print in a way. That's why I auditioned for, not knowing what the part was. So thankfully, I got something that felt like it was communicating what they were looking for. I was really lucky with that. But yeah, it just felt like,
Thank you for your question.
My name is Zach. I was wondering, for the Hyrule Warriors games versus the mainline games, you're working with an extra third party there. Is there any differences in the process when you're working with multiple studios as opposed to just Nintendo directly?
Oh, that's a great question, actually. There's always going to be a main director in the room, and it's always going to be a group effort, whether it's one company or a pro like that. You're always going to have a very strong preparation before someone like me gets in that room. And then multiple people kind of not chiming in, but just like they're overseeing every different part of it. So it's always collaborative and it's always a group. And then you have one director who's going to be the one who's going to be mostly talking to you directly. That's how sessions generally go. And for most games, that's how sessions generally go. So it doesn't feel particularly different, and mostly because I'm more concerned about just my job, which is how do I, house Zelda in my body and keep that really strong as an actor while I have a script in front of me. How do I bring it out? But yeah, aside from that, it doesn't feel particularly different because everybody has the same expectation of how professional it's going to be and how they're going to communicate, and then how it's like kind of funneled into for direction to me. So, but yeah, they are, and the styles are different. The difference in recording would be like for these melee games, you have voice lines that are very tight, like that, like really small, short files, and so the recording process is a little different to do that style of game. But then you also have the same stuff like the cinematics, which are actually very similar in how they're recorded. So.
There's some of the same people in the studio from Nintendo, like Nintendo.
Yeah, Nintendo's always there. They oversee everything, and they are the creators ultimately. So yeah, there's always a Nintendo presence, a very loving and lovely and generous Nintendo presence. They're awesome to record.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, my name is Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Your performance is one of my favorite parts of the game. You really brought the magic compared to real life. I know Nintendo doesn't play around with their IPs. So you were talking about how you only learn about stuff when you're watching the trailers. And you already have your lines.
Speak a little bit if you could. Thank you.
You already have your lines. Recording everything, and you were learning about the game as you were watching the trailers with everyone else. Was that the same way with Tears of the Kingdom when you're already a part of the directing process? There's a big twist at the end of the game, I don't want to spoil it, but when something happens to Zelda and you don't know what happens until the end of the game, is that something that you knew while you were recording the voice lines, or was that something you only learned afterwards?
So I think he's asking, did you know about there's a twist in Tears of the Kingdom, and were you aware of that?
Spoilers.
Were you aware of that while recording?
It kind of depends. I mean, I'm very much aware of the stuff that I'm recording and the context around that, so you can do a good job with it. But no, everything's pretty much kept under wrap. It's not like, and this is the case for a lot of games too. They don't want to be sending a script everywhere. It's so easy to leak, and you just have to respect the fact that like they try to keep it as private as possible. It's kind of the only way to do it a lot of the time, especially for such big games like that, where literally everybody's trying to hack and take the IP and shove it out there. It's pretty crazy what people will do. And I don't ask. I just go with the information that's there, and if I need more context to make sure that I'm bringing out the part, I'll ask about that. But I'm sort of kept, there's a secret for me too, and I don't know the entirety of how everything's going to go until it comes out either. They might still be working on parts of that and maybe doing little tweaks to it as well. It's just such a large amoeba-like machine when those things come together. But yeah, there's always a little bit of secrecy too, and I get the reveals and other people get the reveals, and I wait for the call. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. And we got Snazzy Link. Link's all dressed up.
When you first started playing Zelda, did you think you would have this big of an impact years later?
No, there's no way to predict. For me, people are like, oh, I'm sure there's going to be a sequel, and I'm like, I don't know if there's going to be a sequel. I don't know if there are going to be other offshoot games. No, I feel like this has turned into a much longer journey with one character than I would ever have imagined, really. Simply because it's a dream to do that, but you can't rely on that. You can't think that that's going to, you can't expect anything, it's expect the unexpected. That's how this career goes. be cautiously optimistic. So to be able to look back now 10 years in and go, oh my gosh, actually this all played out. What a crazy, crazy thing this has been. It's been such an adventure. Yeah, I would have had no idea. I was just going like month to month when I first started. It's like, what's going to happen now?
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you for your question. Next up.
And your lead cosplay.
I was wondering, during your entire journey throughout voice acting,
Can you get a little closer to the mic for us, please?
throughout your entire journey of voice acting, what would be the most important advice you want to give to an inspiring voice for to an aspiring voice actor?
An aspiring voice actor? I would give different advice to different people depending on where they are in the journey, but one really important thing to live by in terms of bringing things off the page is that it isn't about the voice, it's about the acting and the psychology. Yeah, it's about the soul. It really doesn't matter what the voice sounds like if it's not grounded in the action of what the character needs and being able to paint that environment around to bring it off the page. And also, you can have something that sounds great and maybe that you can act it great, but you get into the booth, they might go in a completely different direction than what you're expecting, and you need to be able to pivot and do things that don't feel comfortable to you, because you might think something sounds great, and then they go, but we don't want that. This character needs to be doing this right now, and in a completely different way that you had prepared. So it kind of feels like being an actor is being embarrassed all the time. But that's okay because life comes out of the discomfort, you know? And it's a weird lesson, but it's always present. And the other thing I would say is you have to find ways to calm down after you're working and to enjoy the process. Failure is really hard. It's a really up and down journey, but it's so embedded in any win that you have or any sort of success you have. There's just like this bed of failures and missed opportunities and times where you're really hard on yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. If I could go back, I would be like, Patricia, don't be so hard on yourself. Like, don't beat yourself up. This is the hardest. There's so much uncertainty. Who wants to deal with that in any way? But we do. I don't know why we choose to do this. Right?
And don't be afraid to embarrass yourself. That's what I was very nice. Thank you.
Have fun. Have fun.
And we got Princess Zelda.
There she
Princess Zelda's here.
Wonderful.
My name's Ash.
Ash? I thought it was Zelda. I'm sorry.
My first ever Zelda game. So we've been for so long. So I love my friends too. So how does it feel being such an inspiration to like the younger generations?
How did it feel to be such an inspiration to people with the role? It kind of sneaks up on you because I'm just me, you know, and when I'm going to places and representing a symbol for people, I also, it's not about me per se, but you do end up having a kind of responsibility around it because you want to inspire people. I mean, that's why you're there. You want to communicate things that move people and make them feel connected and alive. I think in certain environments, it's really struck me how important the character is. There's certain countries I've traveled to where maybe you have a different sort of gender dynamic, where women are treated very differently than men or something like. I've been in environments like that, representing a female warrior figure, and going, this really means something different in this environment now. So that can happen. I don't know. I try to be myself, and I try to be nice and be open to whatever stories people are going to come to me with. Because I think that's why we're here. It's about humans, and it's about other people's stories and what Zelda means to them. So I kind of just sit there with an open heart and go, hi, that's the best I can do. I can't be a magical princess, really, like all the rest of us, but boy, isn't it great to imagine, the best part of being a human is that we can make stories on top of this reality that's in front of us. This escapism is so powerful. I love it. Yeah, it's been a really fascinating journey. That's really all I can say in the last 10 years. You standing in front of me now, this is exactly it. You're dressed as a real life princess of a character that I voiced, and I go, wow, that's incredible. How lucky am I to just have that opportunity and celebrate your art as well. Pleasure.
Thank you, Zelda.
Yeah, it's good. Hi. You might have to go a little closer to the mic.
A little closer. There you go.
Awesome.
Is this good? So, hi, my name's Emma.
And then,
Yeah, my first Legend of Zelda game was Ocarina of Time. I want to know what's your favorite dungeon in Ocarina of Time.
my favorite Zelda game?
No, your favorite dungeon in Ocarina of Time.
Oh, favorite dungeon? Oh, gosh.
Not the water temple, right?
I'm gonna do. What's your favorite dungeon in Ocarina of Time? Actually, I can't believe that.
Probably the fire temple, because you get to fight a dragon, which is pretty cool. I dig the fire temple.
Fire Temple. I'm gonna defer to Josh. What's your favorite dungeon?
It's between the Fire Temple and Forest Temple. I like the Forest Temple because it's really intriguing with how it works.
Nice. It's been a little while since I played it now. I actually thought maybe I should go back and play it again before the new one is
I was
released.
going to say, if you don't replay it, you'll get a chance to play the remake. It's
Yeah.
coming out later this year.
So I'm gonna Nintendo Switch too, so I'm kind of like, do it.
Well, awesome. Thank you for your question. We appreciate it. Oh, and guys, just says that we are going to cut it off after this gentleman in the hat right here. Those are probably our last two questions right there.
Hello, my name is Jen. I am so excited to see you in Greenville, South Carolina, of all places. So thank you for visiting. I loved your work with Zelda, and I wanted to know more about in your career, because you have been Zelda for so long, is there a project or a role that you're interested in trying next? Like, what would be a really fun challenge or something to just try that might be deeper in this direction, or do you want to just do something else? Just try something different, because she is so like good and a little bit upright. Like, do you want to become something maybe darker, or what types of things would be fun for you?
It's interesting because before this role, I did a lot of darker characters, and in fact had a lot of stage work. I would say because these games I'm only recording, they don't happen very often. I'm doing all sorts of other kind of work to make a living. I travel to conventions, but I'm also always working and auditioning every week. Sometimes from the convention in the hotel room, that can be a bit of a slog too. But it's also, that's part of the job. You're always auditioning, always working. So I'm working on a few different games right now that I'm quite excited about. I can't say what they are, but a couple of them.
I tried.
There's performance capture involved. There are some really cool teams. It's become, honestly, at this point, less about what the game is necessarily and more how awesome is the team going to be. Does it have a great script? How cool is the process going to be? And you just kind of go from there, because at this stage you can be working on the biggest game. Like, for example, I was working on a game that they were developing for 7 years, and I was on it for 3, and it just got canceled right in the final debugging stage. Just this last year, it was supposed to come out in 2026. That stuff happens all the time. You just don't know what's going to actually kind of make it to the final stage and actually get published and released. Especially in this day and age, there's a lot of tumult in the gaming industry. So I'm just like happy to be working when I'm working. But I will say I'm back writing music, so I'm hoping to release a single or an EP by the end of this year or early 2027. And I've been doing more writing, so that's something that I've wanted to do more of, to just focus my brain. So those are the things I can control, and I'm like, those are great habits, and they help everyone. So
That's incredible. My follow-up question is, for these canceled projects, do you ever get any of the recording or the content that you can at least reference yourself?
absolutely
It's
not.
gone.
It disappears. It's wild.
That is so awful now, because you put your time in.
It's awful for the people. It's awful for the people who are working on it. I was a prominent character, but you also had a lead character who was part of that since the beginning. You have devs who have been writing for a video game for years and producing and creating original IP, and it's like gone. So luckily they've had a job, they've been paid, but imagine that, it's a lot.
I mean, we don't want to listen anyway, so thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yes, sir. Last question right here.
Hello, my name is Jim. First of all, Zelda is my favorite Disney princess, so for that. Secondly, I came in a little late, so I apologize if this has been asked already, but is there any part of Zelda's character that you disagreed with and had to act out anyway?
I don't disagree with any part of her character because there's nothing to judge. I don't go into a character judging what she is. I just try to bring out what is there. If I have an issue or a conflict with trying to figure out how to perform her, that's an interesting way to try to exercise empathy and research to get in there a little further. I can more speak to the parts that I find really lovely, like the fact that she's nerdy. She feels a lot of pressure on her. She likes frogs. She likes nature. Those things are like, oh, that's very easy to relate to. I find her so relatable in so many ways. So I focus on the stuff that I can kind of try to connect with. But there are nuggets in the parts where you're like, I don't know about that. What is that? Why is that so different from me? Why is it's different than the way of my psychology? And that's part of the process of the acting. But it's never about disagreeing with the character. Not in this case anyway. There would be some, I suppose, if they're particularly tricky or dark or complex, where you go, ooh, that's really hard. But I didn't find that with Zelda. She's pretty she's pretty lovable.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty easy to love.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you guys so much for your questions. Well, I guess one final thing to leave everybody off with, Patricia, is do you have any final message for your fans?
I feel like I already said it, there's never a better time really to be a Zelda fan, and there's so much, I enjoy everything that's coming. It's going to be awesome. And it's a real honor to be here, and come up and show me all your tattoos and your cosplay. If you got it, I love it. It's really my pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
Well, it's the honor's been all mine. For the past 45 minutes, I just want to let you guys know that it has not been the 36-year-old grown adult that pays taxes up here hosting this panel. It has been that 8-year-old kid that opened his copy of Ocarina of Time Christmas morning of '98 and just fell in love with this incredible series. So this has been one of the highlights of my life, hosting this panel. And I love this series so much, and because of that, I know how much it means to all of you. So Patricia, on behalf of everybody, thank you so much for being here. And you guys give a huge round of applause for Patricia Summersett.